Hello everyone, good morning. So welcome to the another session in PowerShell. Today we are learning the foundation of PowerShell commands known as Cmdlets. In day 1 we have discussed about the PowerShell introduction. In day 2 we learned how to use PowerShell console, and today we will learn how PowerShell commands are actually built. Once you understand the Cmdlets, you can start understanding almost any PowerShell command. Okay, so let's get into the topic. So what is a commandlet? So commandlet is basically pronounced as Cmdlet as pronounced as command-let. Okay, commandlet is a lightweight PowerShell command. Okay, and think of a commandlet as a tool. Okay, for example, just as a screwdriver, it has one purpose. A Cmdlet also has a specific purpose. It performs a specific action. Each commandlet performs a specific action. Example, you can say get process, new item, remove item. Okay, so get process actually it will retrieve all the current running process information. Likewise, new item. So if you want to create something, a file or folder, so automatically we are using new item commandlet. And remove item, if you want to delete any file or folder or a specific thing, then we can use remove item as a commandlet. So commandlets follows a strict and a predictable naming pattern. Okay, so usually as a database administrator, as MS SQL administrator or Windows administrator, if someone wants to check which process is consuming more CPU, which process is consuming more memory, obviously will connect to the Windows server. From the task manager will check which process is consuming more memory. The same information you can also get with the help of get-process command. We will get all the list of processes which are currently running and which process is consuming more CPU and memory. We will get all this information by using a single command. Okay, and so why these commandlets are important? Okay, first of all, which is very easy to learn. Each commandlet is very easy to learn if you understand the concept, if you understand what exactly you need, and each commandlet is very easy to guess, right? For example, you need the process information, so you wanted to retrieve the information, then obviously you are trying to get the information. What information you are getting? Process. The simple commandlet is get-process. You wanted to create an item like folder or a directory or a file, right? So you are creating something new, right? So then we can easily guess new item. If you want to delete something, you wanted to remove from the specific folder or file or whatever it is, then you can predict the easy commandlet as remove item. So these commandlets are consistent across Windows, Linux, cloud and another automation tools as well, and which will really help users quickly understand what a command does. Even if you get any script from the internet, so first of all, if you go through the script, you can easily understand why this commandlet is used, what is the purpose, what we are getting. So you can easily understand. So the commandlets will really help users quickly understand what action it is doing in the backend. Okay, every PowerShell script is built using commandlets. Okay, and next is the commandlet naming structure. Commandlet naming structure. So here every commandlet always follows the same format, which is nothing but verb noun. As discussed earlier, every commandlet follows the same verb noun format in any module, whether it is Azure modules or DBA tools modules or AWS modules or any modules. So every PowerShell commandlet follows the same format, which is verb noun format. Just an example, get-service. As discussed earlier, get is a verb, and after the hyphen, whatever we are seeing here, this is a noun. Get is a verb, which is nothing but action, and service is an object, on which object you are trying to perform an action. Okay, set date. So set is an action, right? Date, an object you are trying to do something. For example, here you are setting something, like you are modifying, you are updating the date. So you are modifying, and which object you are modifying, and the date object you are modifying. So we can easy to predict the each commandlet. Likewise, new item, you are creating a new folder or new file. Okay, so new is a verb and item is a noun. New is action, item is object. Okay, and remove local user, remove is verb and local user is a noun. You are performing, you are removing the local user, right? So local user is an object. If you, this consistency makes PowerShell easier than many other command languages. This because if you see the commands, you can easily predictable and you can easily understand, right? So verb is a first action and noun is the second object. Okay, so this is how the commandlet structure will be formed in any module or any commandlet. Okay, if you understand verb noun, you can understand thousands of PowerShell commands. Okay, so if you understand the verb, automatically you will understand the object as well. You can just, yes, obviously we have many verbs, we have many nouns, but if you understand the verb, then you can easily understand the full commandlet, what it is doing and which object it is doing. So you can easily understand. Okay, as I said earlier, no one remember all the PowerShell commands. Okay, no one is having that much memory to remember all the commandlets. But if you know the concept, what you need to perform and what object you need to perform, what action you need to perform, then we can easily predict the commandlet. Okay, the verb, let's understand what is verb and what is noun. Okay, so the verb describes the action you wanted to perform. Verb describes the action you wanted to perform. So as I said, get is nothing but you are retrieving some information. Set, you are modifying something. So these are all the verb. Something like get is an action, you are modifying, you are doing some action. New, you are creating something, it is an action. Remove, you are deleting something, this is an action. Start, you are starting a process or you are starting a service, that is a one action. Stop, you are stopping one process or ending a process, that is also an action. So PowerShell enforces standardized verbs to maintain the same consistency. Okay, so if I say get service, what is the action? What is the action? If I say get service, then it is get is an action. Get is an action, service is an object. Okay, you can simply understand what is verb is nothing but it describes the action that you wanted to perform. Okay, we you no need to remember all the verbs. We have few limited verbs regularly on a daily basis we are using. If you remember those verbs, the remaining commandlets are easy to understand and easy to predict as well. Okay, so if you understand what verb is doing, then you can easily understand the full commandlet. Okay, anyhow, if you don't know how to use each commandlet, always I suggest you to go with get help command. Okay, it will give you the with examples, with clear descriptions how we need to execute this one. It will give a clear information. Okay, and coming to the next one, next noun. So what is noun? The noun describes the object or target of the action, and which target you are performing action. Okay, and which object or which target and which some object you are performing an action, that is nothing but a noun. So item, so item is an object, it might be a file or it might be a folder. Okay, likewise service is a noun, so it might be a Windows service or Linux related process or whatever it is. And process, like running applications. Users, create user. Okay, or get users information. Okay, so you can get the system or local users information. And computer, Okay, this get hyphen computer info, so you can get all the system details. Computer is a noun. If you execute get hyphen computer info, then you will get the complete system information like CPU, memory, everything. You will get the complete information. So here verb is nothing but what to do, it's an action, and noun what to do it to. Okay, so noun is an object or a target, and verb is an action and which object you are trying to perform. Okay, so you can easily understand each commandlet, no issues at all. But as I said, daily practice at least 2 commandlets, so that in 30 days you can learn 60 commandlets, which is more worth. Okay, but not only learning the commandlet, you have to practice in real time where we use this commandlet. You have to think of it and you have to practice it daily. Then if you got stuck in somewhere, then always I suggest to go with get hyphen help command, but don't blindly execute the script which is available from the internet. First understand the script and then take it forward. Okay, okay. So next one is commonly used verbs. Okay, very frequent. These, if you know these verbs, then you can understand the full PowerShell commandlets. Very regular on a daily basis, we always use these commands only. Okay, get to retrieve retrieve the data or objects information. Set to change or modifying the existing settings. If you want to, new is a verb to create something, new item or folder. Remove, delete items or what deletes the files or folders. And start, if you want to start a service, for example, as a database administrator, if I want to start the service, you can start it from configuration manager, you can start it from command prompt, you can start it from services.msc, and you can start it from SQL Server Management Studio as well, right? So through PowerShell also you can start the service and you can stop the service and you can restart the service, or you can restart the applications as well. Not only services, you can restart the complete applications and enable or disable. Okay, so you can enable the settings, everything. These form the foundation of most PowerShell scripts. Very regular, very commonly used verbs: get, set, new, remove, start, stop, restart, enable, and disable. Okay, so if you understand these verbs, the rest of the things are very easy. Okay, so when coming to the, for example, let's take a get verb. Okay, let's take a get. Get is a verb, right? So the purpose is to retrieve the information. Get process, get service, get child item, get event log. So obviously we have seen many times get process is nothing but to retrieve all the process information. Get service means to list out the system services which are currently running. And get child item, if you want to list out the files which are currently resides in the folder, you can use get child item. And if you want to read the log, you can use get event log. This is the most frequently used verb for beginners. Okay, and the next one is set verb. Okay, first today we'll understand the commandlet structure, and going forward we'll understand how we need to use this commandlets. We can easily understand. Okay, the next verb is set verb. So purpose, the main purpose of this set verb is to modify something that already exists. For example, set date. So the date is already running. If you want to update, the date, then you can use set date, or else set location. For example, currently I am in C drive. If I wanted to change the location, you can use set hyphen location, and then you can pass the path, so automatically path will be changed. And set execution policy, mostly will be using set execution policy if they to avoid errors. So to update the script settings. And set service, for example, if you want to set the service into disabled state. Okay, if you want to set the service into automatic state, then you can use set service command. Okay, and when updating existing configuration, then we use this set verb. And the another verb is new verb. So new means create. Okay, It might be a file, or it might be a folder, it might be a user, it might be an object, it might be alias, anything. Okay, so create is nothing but you are creating. New means it is you are creating something, right? New item. So create files or folders. New local user, you can create a local user using new local user commandlet. That's what I said. So if you understand what exactly you need to do, so if you are creating something new, then obviously you have to use new. After that, whether you wanted to create a file, then you can go with item. If you want to create a user, then you can use local user. If you want to create an object to store some information, then you can use new object. If you want to create some alias name for the existing one, you can use new alias. Okay, this verb is essentially in automation script. Mostly as a regular automation experts will do to store some kind of information, some objects, if they want to create some users. For example, if a new employee is joined, so they will not go and create a new user in the active directory. They'll simply pass the information and execute the script automatically. User will be created and that person will be added into groups, respective groups, and email will be sent to that particular user. Everything will be automated. No one will go and create a new user with these details and update those details, nothing like that. Everything is completely automated. Okay, this verb is essentially in automation scripts. Okay, so the next one is remove verb. Remove verb. So remove means you are deleting. The main purpose of this remove verb is you are deleting something. It might be a file, or it might be a folder, or it might be a service, or it might be a local user, or if you are removing a module, or whatever it is. So then we will use this remove verb. This is great for cleanup task. Okay, for example, in one of the folder is having multiple backup files. I wanted to clean up something. I wanted to clean up some items or some files or the folders. Then I'll use remove item folder to remove the files, to delete the files from that particular directory. Okay, so if you want to remove any user from the local machine, then obviously you can use the remove local user command, so which will delete the user automatically. Okay, and the commandlet structure, as we already discussed, right? Every commandlet follows the same verb noun format. But what if not only verb noun, so we can also provide additional parameters, additional instructions and values for that particular parameters as well. For example, if you execute get child item, okay, if you execute get -child item, so what it will do is it will give the list of files and folders in that particular directory. Okay, it will give the list of files and folders in that particular directory. So for example, let's say, so here I am clearing the screen. Now what I will do is I'll change the location to, okay, set location to f okay, so now by using set location I change the command. So now if I wanted to see the list of items, folders inside this directory, then what I will do is get -, you can use capital or small, whatever it is, get child item. Okay, get child item, and then I will pass the path, or it is not needed at as well. Okay, for example, f mongo. Okay, and then I am using, this is the additional parameter. Okay, this is additional parameter. If you want to pass recurse, which means if there is any subdirectories, subfolders, so then it will go and it will fetch all the subdirectories information as well. So if you can see under the Mongo pre-migration v2 I have these files, and every time you can see there is fmongo, these are the files are available. So it will go to the recursive folder. Inside the subdirectories also it will go and it will collect the information. This is how we can use this parameters, and we are passing the values. Okay, verb, if you simple command, if you, for example, if you try to understand this command, here get is a verb, right? And get, you are trying to retrieve something, it is an action, and which object you are performing to get the child items. okay, to get the list of files. And then parameter, this is also path, path is a parameter, and recurse is also a parameter, okay. This wherever it comes with that is a parameter. So after the parameter you need to pass the values, but all the parameters is not needed for the values, okay. So values you are providing a path, and the parameter recurse, so run through the subfolders. What it will do is it will go to each and every subfolder and it will retrieve the information. This is how the commandlet structure. So how parameters enhance the commandlets, this is also very important to understand, okay. So parameters, it will add the additional instructions to the commandlet, okay. Parameters, these are the add-on options to the control how a commandlet behaves, okay. For example, recurse, so what it will do is it will search the subdirectories and it will go and it will fetch the information. And if you pass like -force, what it will do is it will show the hidden items. By default hidden items will not be displayed, right? But if you type along with the commandlet get -child items and the path and -force, then you can also get the hidden items as well. And you can use filter as a parameter. So this will give you, filter is the most very useful command in every automation, because for example my folder is having multiple files. If I wanted to filter the files, the name starting with msdb or whatever it is, the name contains full, then I will go with filter. Or else the name, if you want to provide a specific name, then you can provide the additional parameter as well. And the error action, so if there is any error happened, how to control this error with the help of error action. So these parameters are additional options to control how a commandlet behaves, okay. So just see what are the additional parameters that we use frequently and understand. So there is nothing, it's not a very big C, it's a simple concept, but many people are confusing, so they are feeling that it is very hard, but it is very simple if you understand the basic commandlets, the verb noun format, and what you wanted to perform and which object you wanted to perform, then you can easily understand the concept, okay. The next one is, let's take an example. So if you want to list of all running process, get process to get all the process, to create a folder, new item, item type, directory, okay. So for now I will create a one sample folder. For example, I'll go to this one. So here you can use either console or the ISE editor, you can use anything, no problem at all. For example, as I said, right, if you want to see the get process information, then you can use get -process, then you will get the list of process. And then if you want to create a test folder under the Mongo folder, currently if you can see I'm just typing ls. Ls is also very similar to get child item, gca, and in a legacy command prompt we use dir, right? The same behavior. Ls is also a list of files. For example, currently I can see under the Mongo folder I have 3 files. If I wanted to create a new folder, what I will do is new item. So I am creating a new item. So item type is directory, okay. So if you type dir and hit tab, automatically it will complete the command. And what is the directory name? So if you type parameter, automatically the parameter names also will come automatically populated. Name, for example, I am wanted to create a folder name called PowerShell. So just hit enter, then automatically PowerShell folder. See here, D is nothing but directory. So the PowerShell folder is created. Now let's see the ls. Then you can see there is a additional folder is created with the name called PowerShell. Likewise, you can use set service, okay. And if you want to change the service status to disabled or manual or automatic, then you can use the set service command. And for example, if you want to start the service or stop the service, also you can use PowerShell command. Okay, choosing the right commandlet. So this is very very important when you are trying to write some automation script. So you have to think what command I need to use and what action I need to perform and which object I need to perform. So first of all you have to ask yourself, okay, based on that you can easily predict the commandlet. And do I need to pass any additional parameters? Do I understand the impact of this command? If I am using this command, is there any impact on the files or folders, or is there any flow? Is there any impact that you need to understand, right? So first of all, before writing the script or before writing the command, you have to ask these questions yourself. What action I need to perform, what verb I need to use, and what object I am trying to performing the action, file or service or user. And do I need to pass any additional parameters or any additional filters, something like that. And if I add these additional parameters, if I use this commandlet, is there any impact on the current workflow? You need to ask yourself and then find the right commandlet. This is very very important here. Okay, and the common helpful tools for learning commandlets is, as I said earlier, in every session I will say, if you didn't understand the commandlet, always go with get hyphen help command. So as I shown you earlier, if you don't know, for example, any commandlet, get hyphen help space and whatever the commandlet that you wanted to explore, just type the command, it will give a clear information. Even still, if you didn't understand, if you pass additional value as an example, hyphen example, then it will give you the list of examples as well. So get command. So get command here, verb is get, command is a noun service. Okay, get member, so same. So from get service and you are trying to get the members information. These tools will really help you to start your PowerShell journey, to explore and learn and experiment very safely. Okay, and if you are practicing any script, start with simple command, understand the command, understand the verb, understand the noun. This is very very important. Okay, once you understand this any commandlet, you can easily predict the other commands as well. Okay, the best practices for this session, what I can say is, always understand what a commandlet does before running it. So before you running any script, first understand the commandlet, understand the verb and noun action, what it is performing, and then take it forward. Okay, and use what if to test risky command. For example, there are some risky commands also will be there. Okay, so for example, if you are deleting something, then you can use what if, then it will control the commandlet. Okay, and start with get, okay, before set or remove. So always start with get the information, collect the information, collect the process information or files information, services information, and then if you want to modify, then you can use set, and then once you collected the information, if you wanted to delete, you can use remove. Okay, but make sure experiment all this in saved directories. Don't try at all on the backup folders or the main application folders. Okay, practice in your local environment, and if everything works well, and then test it out and then take it forward. Okay, learn the verb noun pattern. It makes PowerShell is more predictable and more understandable. Okay, so these are the very best practices to understand. Okay, start with get commands, practice safely, and understand the verb noun pattern. Okay, so in this session what we discussed, commandlets use the verb noun structure and common verbs, and very regular uses verbs get, set, new and remove, and parameter improvement behavior and its control. So like what additional parameters we need to pass, how they are behaving, what if there is any risky commands, what we need to use. Okay, and commandlets are predictable and beginner friendly, and we have seen some small uses, real world uses, right? But it's not the real world uses, I should say, because we are not completely into the topic and we are still in starting phase. so we can slowly start and we can implement the scripts as well. Okay, and we have also discussed the best practices for safe learning. Okay, so I always suggest start with basic commands and then take it forward, and then slowly you can improve your PowerShell journey. And I promise, I can assure you, so if you practice this PowerShell daily 2 commands in 30 days, you will get 60 commands. That is more than enough to write a PowerShell scripts. Okay, make sure you need to understand the concept, what you are trying to perform, and what action you wanted to perform, and which object you are trying to perform. Do I need to add additional parameters? If I add additional parameters, what is the impact? If there is any risky commands, what I need to use, and where I need to test it. So all these things you have to perform. Okay, I hope this session, this commandlet structure, verb noun format structure is understand to take it forward your PowerShell journey. And if you are having any doubts or any questions, just comment it in the video, then definitely I will try to answer in the next session. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a good day.